Yes, 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 yes. So we're working on T3, graphing a two variable linear inequality. So we're going to graph this inequality. So if you look, it says graph this inequality. So what's the inequality? Remember, inequalities are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So let's graph this inequality. So let's look at our rules. Now I have the rules listed right here, all right? These are the rules. These are the rules. Greater, you're going to shade up. Lesser, you're going to shade down, okay? This deals with shading. These things deal with shading, all right? Lesser, you shade up or right. Greater, you shade up or right. Lesser, you shade down or left. And these two deal with the types of line that you're going to put out there. So we're looking at y is greater than 2. Now, remember when we had a couple of equations that we were working with, and let me show you those equations. These are the things that we looked at. Remember, if it was y equals mx plus b, it would be a slope. If it was just y equals horizontal line, and if it was just x equals vertical line. Well, it's the same thing with this. Same thing with this. It just says y is greater than 2. It's the same thing as y equals 2, the way we're going to approach it. So with y equals, you're just going to make a horizontal line on whatever the number is. So that says y is greater than 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to 2 on the y-axis. And you remember which one is the y-axis. This is our y-axis. If you remember that, that's our y-axis. And this is our x-axis. So if I look at the problem we're working with, if I look at this, x is greater than 2. So I'm going to go, y, it says y is greater than 2. I'm going to go on the y-axis right here, put a point, put my little dot, right? And then I'm going to put what type of line? If it's just y equals, it's a horizontal line. So I'll make a horizontal line on y, all right? And then it says y is greater than 2. So y is greater. So look here, it says greater. Greater says up or right. So I'm going to shade everything above that line. That's how we're going to do it. That's exactly how we're going to do it on paper. But we're doing IXL. So let me show you the IXL way. So we're going to go start at our point of origin, and it says y is greater than 2. We're going to go to 2, put our first dot. You see that? Then we're just going to move to the side here, put another dot, because we're making what type of line? A horizontal line. Now, this line is solid. But if you look, so the type of line is it? What type of inequality is it? It's greater than. So greater than or less than has a dotted line. So I need to change this line from solid to dotted. Now it's dotted. You see that? And now I need to shade. And it tells me if you're going to shade, y is greater. So if I'm shading, greater means to go up. So I'm going to go up. So now I'm going to shade everything up. Now, if I shaded everything down, it would look like this. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have both of them shaded. I just want to have the top portion shaded. All right. So now I've done that. And now I can submit and see if I'm right. Let's see if I'm right. Terrific, terrific. So now we can do the same thing with this particular problem. All right. We're going to do this one. Okay. So this is the y axis. This is the x-axis, right? Right? There we go. Okay, so our problem is y is less than -6. Y is less than -6. Okay, so if y is less than -6, let me look over here and get this right. Y is less than, so I'm going to do less, okay? And I'm looking at the inequality symbol and there's no equal sign on there. So it's going to be a dotted line. So I should have a dotted line and I should shade down. I should have a dotted line and I should shade down. So using IXL, I'm going to go on the y-axis to -6, place my first point. Okay, I'm just going to move to the side so I can make it. All right, now what type of line should it be? This tells me it should be a dotted line, right? It says it should be a dotted line, so I click here where you see those 3 rectangles, and now it makes it dotted. And where should I shade? Well, this says I should shade down or to the left. So I'm going to shade down. All right. So now I've shaded down and I have a dotted line. Let's see if I'm right. Terrific. Que bueno. Okay. So let's do another one. Let's do another one. All right. Let me match up my lines. So once again, this is the y-axis. This is the x-axis. The problem that we're working on is y is greater than or equal to 3x. It's greater than or equal to 3x. So let's check on our rules. Greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to should be a solid line. Good. And it's saying that y is greater than. So greater means to go up. So when I shade, I'm going to shade up or to the right. And my line should be a solid line. So let's go to IXL and let's make it happen. Well, hold up. There's something different. There is something different. What do you see that's different? I see a Y and an X. I see a Y and an X. So that tells me it's going to be a slope. So if I were to write that out, let's say I write it out. So I'm going to write out that Y is greater than or equal to 3x. There's no B. So if I'm missing a B, it means that the y-intercept is going to be 0. So what I'm going to do is make my point, my y-intercept at 0, and my slope here says I go up 3 and over 1. So 1, 2, 3 over 1. So here's my other point. So my line should look somewhat like this. My line should look somewhat like this. And it says that I'm going to shade greater. So I'm going to shade up. So if I'm shading up, then shading up means it'll go this way. This way. You know, I'm just shading up. You know, I can just shade up like that. Shade up like that. Everything above. So this is keeps going, right? So everything above the line. Everything above the line. So that's going to be all of this goodness in here. All of this goodness in here is going to be shaded. All of that. That's all that's going to be shaded. Truly, that's what's going to be shaded. Now we're going to do it the IXL way. So we're going to go to our y-intercept, which is 0. So I'll put my first point at 0. And then it says I go up 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So I'll put my second point there. Now, I look at the inequality, and the inequality has an equal sign. So that's greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to has a solid line. So I have the solid line. Good, I'm good with a solid line. And it says that y is greater. So if it's greater, I need to shade up. So this is up, this is down, this is up. This is what I want to do, right? I want to shade up, yes, and I want a solid line. So I have a solid line and I shade it up. I can submit. Let's see if I'm right. Good work. That was perfectly correct. But looking at this one is interesting. Y is less than or equal to -x. Well, this one has a Y and an X. So we know that it's going to have a slope. So let's write it out. I like writing things out just to make them a little more bold, just to make them a little more bold, okay? So we'll do Y is less than or equal to -x. Now, Since it has a y and an x, we know it's going to be a slope. It's missing the y-intercept. So I'll write that in. And we know if we don't see it, if it's missing, then the number is actually 0, right? Okay, and if there's a negative x, there's really a -1 over 1 in front of the x. That looks sloppy, so let me write that again. All right, so it's really a -1 over 1 x. So that's our full slope intercept equation, the y equals mxb equation. Okay, so our y-intercept is going to be 0, which is right here. And then we're going to go, it's a negative sign. We're going to go down 1 over 1. So if our y-intercept is here, we're going to go down 1 over 1. And our slope is a negative slope because it starts on the left up and it goes down on the right. So we know it's a negative slope. Okay, good. So, and then it says that y is less than. So less than means we're going to go down and to the left. All right. And there's an equal sign here. So it's going to be a solid line. So now we know exactly what we need to do. Let's do it the iExcel way. Go. So we're going to go to our y-intercept, which is 0. Bingo. And that says we go down 1 over 1. Okay. Now that says equal to, less than, or equal to. So it's going to have a solid line. We have a solid line. And it says that y is less than or equal to. So if it's lesser, we're going to shade down. There we go. And let's see if I'm right. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, you have everything you need to know now to solve these problems. Go forth and do well. We're depending upon you. We're expecting greatness and all that stuff. All right, knock it out.